You can't have too much, and your mind goes with it. Your mind goes with it.
Yeah, the warrior travels light and
That's
is
right.
simple, right, and does the work every day.
That's right, every day.
That's really interesting. There is a huge kind of movement toward weekend warriors, and we have a ton of people coming to SEALFIT events, and even with our 50-hour Kokoro camp, only 30% of the guys are making it through.
Right.
And I think you just identified that's why, because it may be inspiring, but man, it's work. You got to do the work.
Everybody's looking for the 6-minute ab routine.
Right.
Everybody wants to see, you know what? Can I run 100 miles tomorrow? Can I achieve this tomorrow? Can I achieve that in 2 days? How about this? Let's compromise. I want to lose weight, but I need to keep my cappuccino. It's not how it works, man. It's not how it works. Yeah, a lot of people lose weight those ways. It's not a fix.
They don't lose it for very long.
Yeah.
So what's your daily routine look like right now?
Pretty easy. This is every day of my life. I wake up, I eat a little something small, a little protein something, go off my run. Come back, go right to the gym. After the gym, I start my daily routine of...
Let's talk about the run in the gym real quick. Okay. What's the run like?
The run is minimum 8 miles.
Okay.
A maximum of 30 miles.
Nice.
So basically...
And you got to plan, it's not just random. You don't just go, I think I'll do 8 today.
Right. It'll vary.
Got it.
And then I'll come back. I will do my gym workout, which is an upper body, lower body routine usually. I won't go too deep into it, but I believe in calisthenics and also weight training.
Yeah.
I believe in being the most dangerous person on the planet.
Yeah.
A person that can run 100 miles.
Multifaceted.
That's right.
Yeah,
can you run 100 miles? Can you deadlift 550? Can you do 50 push or pull-ups dead hang? Can you do 100 push-ups? So I believe in being the best in all these different categories. Like people say it's impossible to do that stuff. It's not. It takes a lot more work.
Right. Okay, so then after your gym workout, what's next?
After the gym workout, I do work as far as whatever the work is for the day. And that varies. A lot of times now it's studying for different classes, trying to get the whole mental thing on always. And then at nighttime, every single night, I stretch out for at least 2 hours.
2 hours?
At least 2 hours a night. This has been happening for 5 years. I've missed 2 nights in 5 years.
Do you do anything while you're doing your stretching? Listen to a podcast, watch TV, read a book?
I don't do that. I do a lot of thinking.
A lot of thinking, breathing, thinking. Do you have a journal with you when you do it?
I've journaled my life for the since 2005.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah. I like that.
I never set out to write a book. When I was in the dungeon and no one was coming back to help me, I just wanted that reflection in that accountability mirror that I hated so badly to be something that gave me pride, to be something that made me feel. It's not about money. It's not about success. It's not about people. Oh my God, that's David Goggins. Sign my book. No. When I started this journey out years ago, it's about I just want to learn to read. So now I'm at a place now where I see the possibilities of human potential. What are we capable of? Is the conversation now. The conversation now is how can I now talk to people in a way they can understand the message that I have for so many people. For so many people. So that's the new conversation now is that you are constantly evolving. You never stay, either you're getting better or you're getting worse. You're not staying the same. So for me, I have to constantly be getting better. I have to constantly be evolving my message. So I'm constantly thinking in the quietness of my mind. That's a key point too. The world is so fast-paced. The world is so noisy. So my conversation now a lot of times is, my God, slow down. The world can take you here, be there, be everywhere. And I lose myself sometimes. So I catch myself in the airport. I catch myself in the plane where I'm writing stuff down. Okay, remember this, remember that. Hey, hang on a second. What got you here? This isn't what got you here. Slow the down. Go back to the quiet place of that dirty mirror in that $7 a month place you used to live in. That's where you grew. So that's what I'm constantly reminding myself to go back to your roots. Now, I'm not saying go back to hell. I'm saying don't forget where you come from. As you start to explode out of the gate when you become someone, my conversation is do not forget your roots. Do not forget your roots. Don't let this become so big that you lose yourself amongst the noise. Go back to the quietness of what made you successful. That's the conversation. It's a constant. That's why when I walked in here, the first thing I do is I want to know the person, because there's so many people right now doing exactly what we're doing. What turns me off so badly is I see so many people out there trying to motivate people, inspire people, help people find what's going to drive you. I see all this shit. It's all a bunch of shit. And I walk in, I see it everywhere. Everybody's got this going. Everybody's got a new podcast, this about I'm going to help you find yourself. They're not living it. They're not living it, which is why I look at people, I'm like, what are you about? Are you actually doing what you say you're doing? Which is why when I heard some of your story,
Roger that,
I realized that you have substance to what you're saying, which is why now I can speak to you. A lot of times I go on these podcasts, I don't want to be there. Because I start realizing this person is just talking. He's not living. And we share this with people and we expect them to change. They can see right through you. They can see you're not doing this. So that's the thing about it. Don't do everything in your life for money. Don't do everything. Yes, we need it to survive. There's a great drive and passion behind doing things for the mind and the soul. There's a great drive in that. Everybody, man, you talk with such passion. This is a life. This is my life. So that's what I want people to get from all this stuff, man. Like there's something inside you. The brain is the most powerful thing. The mind is the most powerful thing that we have. It's not your phone. It's not the computer. It's not anything. It's your mind. And if you can tap into that, you can come from the daggone roots of hell and become such a great seed, a powerful seed that can grow into some great daggone garden. And people don't get that. It's all up here. The power and the magic's up here.
And also just about how much we perceive each other, and I mean how we perceive other people, etc.
Right.
It's so important for all of us to give each other the benefit of the doubt.
That's right.
And hear from each other.
Right.
To connect.
Exactly.
To see. Like I said that to you earlier. I already knew I was gonna like you.
Right.
I was hoping you were gonna like me.
I didn't know that about you. So I make sure and that's something that's very powerful. A lot of times we hear about someone else through the grapevine. And then I won't like you because I heard from somebody else that they don't like you. Always do your own judging. Always meet the person. Look at the person in the eyes before you say you don't like that person. Listen to their story. Listen to who they are. Listen to where they come from, how they lived. Get your own opinion about people. It's very huge. A lot of people didn't like me coming up because they see this hardness, this crust. Break away at the crust and see what's inside that person. For me to get the start line, through that start line journey, I realized I'm capable. So what happens through this whole process is the change of the mind. It's a change of the guard. Mm-hmm. Someone once owned my brain. I never owned it. Yeah. I had no control of
you outsourced it.
Yes, right. Everybody had it. It was my dad's fault. It was the kids that called me their fault. My mom wasn't home fault. My soon-to-be stepdad's fault. The little kids that got rid of the bus fault. My life was, everybody had a piece of my brain. And through this journey of suffering, and the suffering, I put it in because I started finding myself. Yeah. I started, oh no, I'm going to take this back from me. This part of my brain is mine now. I started puzzling back this piece of my brain. And through that, I grew confidence. And then when I got to Buds.
Can I ask you, so, how do I even say this? Because I'm trying to think through what that process was like. Were you getting like insights after insights that were like, that allowed you to pull your brain back, pull control back? Or did it just kind of like happen like really, really subtly? I mean, were there like leaps where all of a sudden you just like said, screw it, my dad, I don't know anything and he doesn't have control of me anymore? Or was it emotional, mental? I mean, help me out here. Understand, like people are like, we're talking about 3 months here of transformation.
So, but think about this.
There's some magic that happens.
We get to the 3 months pretty quick in my story. But the thing about it, though, this is years of a conversation.
Got it. In
a very dark, when I mean this dark, I mean very dark, bad dark. Yeah. Sometimes you got to go dark to get places.
Yeah, I get that.
This is a bad dark, where I had this internal conversation with myself a lot. And I knew I had to make a stand. 'Cause I knew where I was going. I knew where this road led that I was on. And I was afraid. I was afraid to make that stand. So this process was going on a long time in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
I was afraid of this, afraid of that, afraid of this, afraid of that. I knew I had to face it, man. But through facing a lot of this stuff, that's what started happening to me. Through facing it, I started getting more and more courage very fast.
One thing at a time.
One thing at a time.
Yeah.
So when I overcame the water, more courage. When I overcame the fear of myself, the fear of failure, the fear of being judged, the fear of so in this process, I went from David Goggins, I started forming a guy named Goggins.
Mm-hmm.
I had to really I realized I had to reinvent a whole nother human being within myself because who I am wasn't going to make it. This guy is not going to cut it. So I had to be a guy who can take any kind of pain, any kind of suffering, any kind of torture, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. I had to have the people who I had to visualize. Everybody that called me, you have to be in a room of people like this.
Mm-hmm.
I had to make up these things in my mind, the things I had to overcome. And I started callousing my mind.
What's your biggest insecurity today?
I'm not to be arrogant. I don't have one.
What was the last one you had, and when was that?
The last one I had was probably still me. Still living, because I always talk about I pay rent. So we used to live in a $7 a month place when I was growing up.
Is this in Buffalo or is this?
This is in Indiana.
Yeah.
So we had a lot of money in Buffalo. And when my mom left my dad, we went to nothing for a period of time before she got on her feet.
Right.
And that $7 a month place used to be, it was who I was. I was no one. I was in the sewer. My mom lived there. I had nothing. And you always feel like you have nothing. I achieved so much. I was a Navy SEAL. I've gone through Ranger School. I've gone through Delta Force selection training. I've done so much. I run 200 miles, pull-up records, everything. Learned to read and write, became pretty intelligent. And I still was like, man, what is wrong? It wasn't until I got real sick, and I talked about in the last chapter of that book. I got real sick, and I was about 38 years old. Mm-hmm. I'm 43 now. And my life got real quiet. I went from running 205 miles in 39 hours to I couldn't get out of bed. The doctors couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. But once again, it was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Why is that?
In that moment when my whole life changed, I went from a guy who worked out every day, trained every day, to a guy who couldn't get out of bed. My life was taken from me. The one thing that kept me going was my training.
No, you didn't have that.
I didn't have anything.
Now you just had to sit alone and not train.
And that's what changed me. And that's when I realized I hadn't taken time to think about what I'd done in my life.
You hadn't reflected yet.
I hadn't reflected. I've done all these things, but there was no finish line. I still believe that, but you must have time to reflect. Yeah. I was just going. I finished a race of life, and I wouldn't even receive my medal. I'd go on.
You're like, on to the next.
I'd get in the car and I'd go.
You wouldn't even take the medal.
Gone. Don't care about
it. I'm not going to waste an hour sitting around for this ceremony.
Most people sit around, and that's what they like. They need the ceremony if I accomplished something.
Validation.
I haven't done anything. Let's go.
I'm just getting started.
I'm just getting started. That's right. When I started figuring out life, that I was leaving so much in the tank. I call it my 40% rule. Yeah. I was leaving so much in the tank. Once I realized, my God, man, I was this dumb, fat kid being bullied. And now I'm a 180-pound person, lost 106 pounds in less than 3 months. Learn to read, learn to do this, learn to do that. I was like, I need more. Mm-hmm. I was fueling my mind with everything. And I never took time to say, my God, you came from this hell, and you're here. So those insecurities, and this is how I explain it the best way. SEAL training became pretty hard, and a lot of guys weren't getting through it. So they designed a SEAL prep program.
Like a boot camp for the boot camp.
That's right.
Yeah.
And it was 2 months. In my last 2 years before I retired from the military, they sent me there to train these kids.
Wow.
To get ready for
18,
buds.
19,
yeah,
20-year-olds, yeah.
Young kids. So when they get to Navy SEAL training, man, they were physical studs. They were running, swimming. I mean, they were hybrids.
Wow.
But they get to buds, and the same amount of people would quit.
Why is that?
This is why. We were training bigger, stronger, faster quitters. It's not about.
Not the mind.
That's right. We weren't diving into the sewer. Everybody's got a story. We don't share it on social media. We share our nice life on social media. We all have a dungeon. I'm just willing to talk about mine.
Yeah.
Most of us aren't willing to talk about it. I want to talk about my dungeon. I wasn't getting into the dungeon of these guys' minds. I wasn't building that so-called mental toughness. Mental toughness isn't something that you sample. It's something that you live in every day. So when something hard would happen to these kids, like in Hell Week, it would draw on something that made them very insecure. And they look for comfort. Whenever hardness comes, and you don't know what it is, it may be different for you than it is for me, but you go back to your insecurities. And then when you go back to the insecurities, you then look for comfort within those insecurities. And we all look for that cookie that your mom used to give you when you were sad, when you were sick. We look for our wife or our husband. We look for comfort. It's in those moments you must retrain your mind to think differently in hell. I wasn't training them to do that.
Why weren't you training?
I wasn't training myself yet because at that time, I was doing what I was told. These guys need to meet a standard.
Physical standard.
A physical standard. The physical standard is not what they need to meet. It's a mental standard you must meet in life. So going back to when I was sick, I was hitting the physical standards. I wasn't meeting the mental standard. The mental standard is you must know how far you've come.
Wow.
I had come 8,000 miles from where I started. But if you never know that, you're still in the $7 a month place. When I was sick, I was able to slow it down and reflect back on my entire life. And in that bed, and I thought I was dying, because that story is long, that sick portion of my life is long. I didn't care if I died or lived.
Wow.
Because I was, for the first time in my life, happy and at peace. Because I reflected back on where I started.
You said, wow, I have come a long way.
That's right. And no one saved me. It wasn't like someone came down here and guided me through life. When you figure this out on your own, the amount of pride and dignity and self-respect you have. That's why I walk around the streets with a backpack and just like, I don't need anything else.
Yeah.
You figure it out by going inside yourself, by callousing over the victim's mentality. You're always a victim, even if you have everything in life, until you realize what you've achieved. Right. Visualizing is my biggest tool of life. That's why I've been able to put myself in cold water, put myself in a 100-mile race millions of times before I've done it. And I'm able to go through the race and see how I'm going to feel at mile 50. Almost to the exact feeling.
Right. So when it comes up, it's no surprise.
It's no surprise. I've already done this a million times. Mm-hmm. And that's the one thing I practice overnight. But also, the most important thing is I practice that feeling of accomplishment I'm going to have when it's all said and done with.
The crazy thing about the ASVAB story is that in addition to having to pass this test and get that 50, you also had to lose 100 pounds in like 30 days or some crazy short period of time?
It was less than 3 months.
Right. Okay, 3 months. So, but you compartmentalize these two tasks and say, look, the first thing I got to do is I got to pass this test because the weight doesn't matter if I don't get that 50. And you shelved or put off losing the weight to focus on the academic end of it until you completed that hurdle, and then you looked at the weight stuff.
I'm like that now.
You still got it done.
Yeah,
But it's like being focused on one thing at a time.
I have to be very present in everything I do. Like right now, I'm with Rich Roll. I'm not thinking about it, but Rich Roll. And what the f is coming out of your mouth right now? That's what gives me a huge advantage in life, especially today, in this day and age, with so much going so fast, and everybody wants to keep everything going, everything up, and everything. I want to be the greatest multitasker of all time. Not me. If I put my 100% into what's in front of me, I will destroy it. If I'm out here just multitasking, I'm going to half-ass everything I do. So it is the most important thing in the world to me, is being focused at the task at hand.
And it's getting harder and harder to do that because there are so many distractions, and it's so easy to distract yourself.
Yes, it is.
You don't ever have to be bored again with these things in our pockets.
No, but the one thing I'm most scared of in the world is losing touch with the best thing in the world is your mind. Your mindset, how you can picture yourself, how you can focus, how you can drive, how you can put yourself in so many situations to get out of it. Because those headphones we listen to, those phones that we Google to find information, there's so many situations in my life where that is not going to help me. It's not going to help me.
And you're able to just turn that off.
So fast, because I know what's helped me. None of that stuff's ever helped me.
Mm-hmm.
None of that stuff's ever helped me. What has helped me has been me alone, getting my shit together and being accountable for who I'm not and who I want to be. That's the only thing that's helped me.
So you get in, you get the opportunity to become a Navy SEAL, and then you end up going through BUD/S 3 times. It's like,
yeah, Merry Christmas. I got lucky,
man.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. And the stories of what that entailed are like so vivid, man. It's unbelievable.
Well, I was very fortunate to go through 3 times, and not in a sadistic way, in a life-changing, growing way. I found out so much about myself through going through that training 3 times, and I went through the hardest part of the training 3 times. You know, after the first, so first phase is the crucible, man, and that's where I was at for 3 times. I spent most of my time in BUD/S in first phase.
In the hell week.
In the hell weeks, and being in that grind. And in that grind, I got time to examine myself. I caught the live autopsy, and also examine other people, because I was really good about putting people way above me. Because I was never nobody. So for me to be on the same stage as these great wannabe Navy SEALs and BUD/S training, like, my God, you guys are amazing. I actually got here with you all. Thank you so much for allowing me into play. But as I was there for so long, I got a really good chance to sit back, because now the cold water is just water now. It's no longer cold anymore. Your mind starts to change. They say get in the water. Most people think about it. For you, it became my life. So I started learning that if you start to change your mindset versus it being like, oh my God, this sucks, I became a professional BUD/S student. So I wasn't going to leave until I graduated. So I started realizing, if this is my home, this is what I am, I had to always reset the bar. I had to reset my new norm. There always had to be a new norm. So one thing we don't do is we don't have a new norm. My new norm is you get up every morning at 4 o'clock and you suffer.
Yeah, Alex.
This is your new
Stay
norm.
hard, brother.
That became my new life. Most people want to get out of it. I said, no, motherfucker, this is your new life. This is who you are. Your new norm is you wake up and you suffer. And I started realizing, if that's my mentality, this ain't hard anymore. Your new norm is you wake up, you get in the fucking cold water, you're going to be here till this fucking done. Whenever they say you're out, you get out. So my new norm, so I do that now today. My new norm now is, if I'm doing a 200-mile run, your new norm now, man, is you are doing 200 fucking miles.
The Roger that mentality.
That's it, man.
So at what point during this BUD/S experience do the instructors start to take notice of you in a way that separates you from the pack? Is it SBG or these guys that are like, they're starting to go, hey man, this dude's cut a little bit differently?
SBG noticed it. He noticed it in my second hell week. Because I really, and this is no lie, I'm very open about my life, so I'm open about this. I really started to enjoy the fact of seeing what the human mind was capable of, and seeing that what is so horrendous, there's so much joy and glory in it. And when you see other alpha males, like, SBG in the book, he was one of the hardest. I mean, one of the hardest guys in the SEAL teams. He's looking at you like, "What is wrong with you?"
I think the right people are happy when they're challenged by something. Like when they're pursuing something, when they're challenged, like when they're not where they could be.
Right.
When they're not who they could.
Stay hard, y'all. Till next time.